"You're ungrateful. Get out and never come back." That was the last thing my mother screamed at me during the so-called family meeting. No one defended me, not my dad, not my brother Jared, just silence. So I stood up, grabbed my bag, and left without a word. I didn't cry. I didn't beg. I didn't even slam the door. I walked away with a strange kind of peace I hadn't felt in years. I told myself I was done, that they had finally made it easy for me to let go. Weeks passed. Not a single word from them. Until yesterday. My phone lit up. A text from my dad. "Why haven't you paid the mortgage?" I stared at it for a moment. Then I smiled. "Oh," I replied. "I thought I wasn't welcome." That's when the flood began. Calls, messages, panic. Turns out cutting me off was a luxury they couldn't afford. But I wasn't done yet. Not even close. There was a time I believed that love was just sacrifice in disguise. That if I worked hard enough, stayed quiet long enough, bent myself far enough, they'd finally say thank you, that they'd see me. Growing up, I was the fixer, the quiet one, the responsible daughter who didn't make waves, didn't complain, didn't dare say no. While Jared flunked out of community college and bounced from job to job, like a pinball in denial, I worked weekends at a diner through high school, wiped syrup off booths and smiled through aching feet. I used to write motivational quotes in the margins of my notebooks. Family is everything. Be the rock. Your time will come. My time never came. At 18, I left home for a full scholarship. By 22, I had a degree in finance and a corporate job that paid just enough to start digging out from under student loans. I never asked for help, not once, but my parents. They needed help constantly. At first, I gave it willingly. A few hundred here to cover groceries, a couple thousand there to make up a mortgage shortfall when Dad's hours got cut. It always started the same way Mom would call voice shaking, saying things like, "We hate to ask, but..." And I'd say yes before she even finished the sentence. I told myself it was temporary, that they were just struggling a little, that families helped each other, that I was lucky, and with luck came responsibility. But it never felt mutual. Jared moved back in at 26 to find himself, and by that I mean he found the couch and didn't leave it. He gamed for hours while I worked overtime. Mom defended him like he was made of porcelain. "He's sensitive," she said. "He's just figuring things out. Not everyone's like you, Malene." That line lodged somewhere deep. Not everyone's like you. Like I was the problem. Like my stability was an affront to his mediocrity. Every time I covered a bill, no one thanked me. The money just vanished into silence. No receipts. No updates. It was like my contribution didn't exist, but my absence, that they always noticed. If I missed a visit or forgot to call, I'd get the passive-aggressive guilt bombs. "We miss the old you. You're so distant now." But I kept showing up, kept giving, because deep down I believed maybe one day they'd say it. "We see you. We're proud of you. You matter." It's embarrassing how long I chased that sentence. One memory still haunts me. I was 24. I'd just been promoted. I brought home a bottle of champagne thinking we could celebrate. Jared rolled his eyes and said, "You corporate people get excited over the dumbest things." Mom said, "That's nice, honey," and turned back to chopping onions. Dad changed the channel. I ended up toasting myself alone in my old bedroom with lukewarm champagne and a bitter aftertaste. That night I cried so quietly the pillow never heard me. The breaking point didn't arrive like thunder. It arrived in quiet fragments, frustration layered over fatigue, disappointment compacted into silence until it cracked. They called it a family meeting. Dad sent the group text the night before like it was some casual dinner plan. "Let's all sit down tomorrow. Just want us to be on the same page." I should have known something was off the moment I walked through the front door. Jared was already on the couch, arms crossed, lips curled into that smug half-smile he always wore when he knew he wasn't the target. Mom stood by the kitchen island, gripping a manila folder like it held some sacred decree. Her jaw was clenched, her eyes sharp. No hugs, no greetings, no pretense. I hadn't even taken off my coat before she spoke. "We need to talk about the mortgage," cold, clinical, like I was a landlord, not her daughter. I blinked. "My contribution," Dad nodded, trying for calm. "Your mother and I have been looking at the numbers. It's not sustainable for us anymore. We need you to start covering the full amount." I stood there, stunned. I've already been paying half for over a year. Mom didn't flinch. "Yes, but that was when things were easier. Then maybe Jared could—" The folder snapped shut like a gunshot. "Do not throw that in his face," she hissed. I turned to Jared, my voice steady. "Trying what exactly he hasn't worked in almost a year?" He shrugged. "You're the one with the finance job. Why is it such a big deal for you?" And that's when it hit me. This wasn't a discussion. It was an ambush, a script written in secret. I was cast as the villain for daring to withhold what they believed they were owed. "You all decided this already, didn't you?" I asked quietly. Dad's voice hardened. "We're family. Families support each other." "No," I said, rising slowly. "Families don't manipulate. They don't guilt-trip the one person keeping the lights on while the other plays Xbox all day." Jared rolled his eyes. "You always make everything about money. And you never make anything about responsibility," I snapped. "That's when Mom lost it. You're ungrateful. After everything we've done for you, every sacrifice we ask for a little help, and you act like we're criminals." It wasn't anger that filled my chest in that moment. It was clarity. They weren't hearing me. They never had. They didn't see the overtime I pulled. Didn't see how every check I sent meant skipping vacations, dinners, a down payment on a car I desperately needed. They didn't see the nights I skipped meals just to keep them afloat. All they saw was what I didn't give, what wasn't enough. So when she pointed at the door and shouted, "Get out. If you're not going to support this family, don't bother showing your face here again." I didn't argue. I didn't cry. I looked at my father, at Jared. Neither moved, neither spoke. And that's when I realized they had already decided I was disposable the moment I stopped being convenient. I turned open the door and walked out. No dramatic exit. No slamming of doors. Just one final deliberate step over a line I hadn't even realized I'd been towing for years. And as the door clicked shut behind me, I didn't feel broken. I felt free. But freedom has a cost, and peace has an expiration date. Because the fallout was only just beginning. The first few days were strangely still. I crashed at a friend's place for a week, then found a short-term lease on a quiet one-bedroom just outside the city. Creaky floors, mismatched blinds, an old water heater that hissed like it held grudges. But it was mine. No sticky notes on the fridge reminding me about money. No Jared yelling into a headset at 2 a.m. No cold silence masquerading as family love. Just me and the quiet. Too quiet, maybe. But I needed that silence to hear myself again. At first, I kept checking my phone out of habit, half expecting a text. Some olive branch, an apology. Maybe even a joke from Jared to break the ice. Something that meant I still existed in their world. But nothing came. Not a missed call. Not a single emoji. Not even a passive-aggressive "hope you're okay." They had made it clear. I was out, and I was supposed to feel punished. But I didn't. I slept better. Ate more. Laughed at work without guilt twisting in my chest like barbed wire. Even my therapist noticed. "You're creating boundaries," she said. I called it survival. I paid off a credit card I'd ignored for months. Took myself out for sushi. Started planning a solo vacation, something I'd never dared to do before. I even picked up a watercolor kit and started painting again, just for the joy of it. I finally breathed. 3 weeks passed. Then, on a dull Tuesday morning with coffee in hand and a view of the city humming below, I got a text from Dad. "Hey, did you already send this month's mortgage payment?" "No, hello?" "No, we miss you." "No, how are you holding up just business?" Like I was their accountant and not the daughter they'd kicked out less than a month ago. I stared at it, heart thudding in this slow, hollow rhythm. And then I smiled, because it was so perfectly them. I let it sit for 10 minutes while I finished my coffee while the city moved on without them. Then I typed "Oh." I thought I wasn't welcome anymore. 3 dots appeared, then disappeared, then came back. I set the phone down, let it buzz. 5 calls in an hour, 6 texts, 2 voicemails, one from Mom sobbing into the mic saying things like, "You're punishing us over a silly argument. The house means everything to this family. Don't be like this, Malene." Then came Jared Wow. Way to destroy the family just to prove a point. Ah, there it was, the mask cracking. Not a single message asking if I was okay. Just desperation because their safety net had finally walked away. I didn't respond. Instead, I opened my banking app and stared at the long, grim list of past transactions. Mortgage, groceries, utilities, thousands, month after month, year after year. And now they wanted more. Like nothing had changed. Like they hadn't slammed the door in my face. Like the word ungrateful hadn't been hurled at me while Jared Jobless Smug sat on the couch doing nothing. I leaned back in my chair and closed my eyes. I could feel it now. The part of me that used to flinch, the part that used to cave. She was gone. My phone buzzed again. "Jared, you seriously going to ignore all of us? Grow up." I finally responded, "I'm not ignoring you. I'm watching you panic. And for once, I'm not rushing in." 3 minutes passed. Then Jared fired back. "You're being selfish." And there it was, that word again. Selfish only came out when I stopped giving. Selfish meant I was no longer setting myself on fire to keep them warm. I typed 4 words. No explanation, no rage, not my problem anymore. Send. The flood intensified. Mom called 6 times, Dad once, then a group FaceTime I didn't answer. I turned my phone over and let it buzz itself hoarse, because I wasn't ready to talk, not until I had the final piece of the puzzle. Something told me they weren't just behind on this month's payment. They'd been slipping for longer than I realized, and I had a feeling I was about to uncover the truth they never wanted me to find. I didn't sleep that night. Not from guilt, but from clarity. It was like someone had turned on a light in a house I thought I knew. Shadows moved, corners shifted. Everything I had trusted suddenly looked suspicious. The late-night texts, the vague, "We're good," now responses. The silence whenever I asked, "Did the mortgage clear okay?" It had all been a stage, and I had funded the props. The next morning I made a decision. I called the bank. It took 15 minutes, 3 transfers, and a polite but firm voice, but I finally got someone who could speak carefully around privacy policies. I explained that I had been covering partial mortgage payments on behalf of my parents and needed a status update for personal reasons. The woman on the phone was hesitant, but her tone shifted when I said, "I've been wiring over $1, $200 a month for a year. I'd like to know if it actually went where it was supposed to." She sighed. "I can't share full account details since your name isn't on the mortgage, but I can confirm that the account has been in arrears for several months." My throat tightened. How many is several? Another pause. Looks like they've only made partial payments for the last 8 months. 8 months. Which meant even while I was sending money, they hadn't been paying the full mortgage. I stared at the wall. Suddenly memories clicked into place like puzzle pieces snapping together. The spa receipt I saw on Mom's laptop, the random outdoor patio Jared bragged about on Instagram, the casual, "we're fine" texts whenever I asked about bills. They were pocketing my help, smiling to my face, and letting the house bleed behind the curtains. I opened my banking app again. Hands trembling not with fear but fury, I added up every payment labeled mortgage. Every grocery run I never asked to verify. Every emergency Jared needs help Venmo. 5 figures. Clean. Unquestioned. Given without strings. Because I thought I was saving their home. Turns out I was subsidizing their denial. My phone buzzed again. "Jared, please just call Mom. She's a mess." I snorted. She was a mess. I had been a mess for years while she called me cold for saying no, while she twisted "we raised you" into a weapon. Every time I hesitated to hand over my future, I tapped out a reply. "Funny. You all seemed fine when the money was flowing. Where did it go, Jared?" 3 dots appeared, then disappeared, then nothing. That silence told me everything. They never thought I'd ask. They never thought I'd stop. But I had, and I wasn't just walking away anymore. I was documenting. I started a spreadsheet titled Transfers, Evidence. I pulled receipts, bank statements, even text confirmations, labeled them mortgage, utilities, emergencies, color-coded them by year, because something told me they weren't going to go quietly, and I wasn't going to be gaslit into doubting what I knew anymore. By noon, my phone was a war zone. Missed calls, voicemails filled with breathy dramatics, Jared swinging between guilt and passive aggression like a pendulum, but I didn't respond. Not until Mom called 5 times in a row. I sighed, picked up on the 6th ring. "Hello." Her voice hit like a tidal wave. "Malene, what is wrong with you? You can't just abandon your family like this." I stayed quiet. Let her vent. Let her twist. When she finally paused to breathe, I asked calmly, "Where did the money go?" Silence. "What are you talking about?" "The mortgage. The money I sent. The payments that, according to the bank, haven't been made for almost a year." She stumbled. "Well, some of it went to bills, groceries. You know life isn't cheap, Malene. Groceries don't cost $5,000 a month." She bristled. "Your father had dental work. Jared's car broke down. It was an emergency. The car with the new stereo system. That emergency." She exploded. "Don't you dare make it sound like we were reckless. We've sacrificed everything for you." There it was, that line, like a bad rerun. "You didn't sacrifice," I said. "You expected me to keep paying no matter what. And when I stopped, you fell apart. That's not my failure. That's yours." Dad's voice came next. He must have taken the phone. "Malene, please. We just need help this month. Just enough to stop the bank from taking the house. We swear we'll fix things." I nearly laughed. Fix things. Like how you were fixing them while I unknowingly funded the spa days and Amazon hauls. That's not fair. No. What's not fair is being thrown out of a house I helped pay for. What's not fair is being called ungrateful after years of silent sacrifice. I stood and began pacing. "Let me ask you something. If I hadn't asked about the mortgage, how long were you going to keep pretending everything was fine? Until the house was taken, until I was blamed for not saving it again?" No response, just breathing. Then Mom again, quieter this time. "We didn't mean to lie. We were scared. We thought if we told you, you'd stop helping. So you lied to keep the money flowing. We didn't see another way." I exhaled slowly, my voice steady, my hands shaking from release, not fear. "There's always another way. But you didn't want it. You wanted the easy way. You wanted me." Then I gave them the one thing they never thought I'd say. "Sell the house. Malene, please. Figure it out, like adults. I'm done being your bailout plan, but this is our family home. and you threw me out of it. Dead silence. Then I hung up. No goodbye, no second chance. For the first time in my life, I wasn't the one left behind. I was the one walking away by choice. And I wasn't turning back. The next 48 hours were silent. No calls, no texts, no guilt-drenched voicemails, just stillness. But it wasn't peace. It was pressure building, the eye of the storm. And I knew better than to think it was over. Sure enough, on day 3 it hit. A text from Jared. "Thanks a lot, Maddie. They're talking about moving in with me now. I hope you're happy." I rolled my eyes so hard I nearly gave myself a migraine. Happy, no. Resolved, yes. I typed back, "They kicked me out," not the other way around. 10 seconds later, he fired back. "Yeah, well, maybe if you weren't so cold all the time, they wouldn't have to." You broke, Mom. There it was. The magical family logic. Hurt someone by finally drawing a boundary, then blame them for the fallout. But I wasn't playing anymore. She broke herself by lying. You just helped. Jared left me on read. Later that night, I got an email from Dad. A full essay. His specialty. Measured tone. Passive regret. Carefully crafted like a legal brief masquerading as love. He said he was disappointed in how things had escalated. Said he hoped I'd remember where I came from. Said he forgave me for walking away. Forgave me. As if forgiveness was his to give. What he didn't say, "I'm sorry we lied. Thank you for everything. We were wrong." Instead, he attached a list of their expenses from the last 3 months. Bolded at the top, mortgage due, $3,628.24, as if that number was supposed to crack me, as if a spreadsheet could replace an apology. I didn't respond. Instead, I opened my own document, titled Documented Transfers. Malene Walsh, a clean surgical list of every dollar I'd sent over 2 years, attached receipts, matched them to messages, highlighted anything labeled mortgage, groceries, or emergency. Not for revenge, for truth. Because I knew what was coming. The whisper campaign. The family grapevine spinning me into the bitter daughter. The one who changed when she got money. The one who turned her back. They'd rewrite the story. But I wasn't going to fund the production. The next morning, Mom texted again. Short, blunt. We're selling the house. No greeting, no warmth, just surrender. But that message, more than all the screaming, more than the guilt, that one hit the hardest. Because it meant they finally understood I wasn't coming back. Not as their crutch, not as their fixer, not even as their daughter. They could sell the house. I had already bought my freedom. The day the papers were signed, I thought I might cry. I thought I'd drive past one last time and feel the ache, the ghost of birthday parties and Sunday dinners, the echo of Christmas mornings in fuzzy socks, the hallway where I first learned silence could be louder than yelling. But I didn't cry. I didn't even go. Instead, I stayed in, painted my bedroom, watered my dying succulents, ate leftover Thai food and watched an old movie with the windows open. Because that house, it was never home. It was a performance, a stage where I was cast as the dependable one, the responsible one, the one who didn't need love, as long as she stayed useful. It was never about who I was, only what I gave. And now, with the house gone, there was nothing left for them to hold over me. I heard from a distant cousin that my parents had moved into a rental near Jared's apartment, downsizing, starting fresh. They didn't tell me. I didn't ask. It was strange watching the place I grew up vanish from my life like a photo left out in the sun too long. Faded, distorted, no longer real. Stranger still, I didn't miss it. Not the walls that echoed with conditional love. Not the feeling of being useful but never valued. Not the silence that followed every sacrifice. People say, family is sacred. That blood demands loyalty, that saying no to your parents is unthinkable. But I've learned something else. Family is who respects your no. Family is who sees your worth without an invoice. Family is who doesn't scream selfish the second you take a breath for yourself. Family is the friend who let me crash on her couch, the coworker who brought me lunch when I looked too tired to ask, the neighbor who said I'm proud of you without knowing the full story. And most of all, family is me. I choose me. Some nights I still lie awake wondering if I was too harsh, if there was some gentler way to say no, some softer boundary I could have drawn. If I could have saved the house, spared the fallout, salvaged whatever was left of that fragile, dysfunctional thing we used to call family. But then I remember the silence, not the peaceful kind, the punishing kind. I remember standing in that living room called Ungrateful while Jared smirked and my dad looked away. I remember walking out with no one following, no one defending me, just the cold click of the door behind me. And I know I didn't break the family. I just stopped letting them break me. People tell you that saying no to your parents is cruel, that cutting ties is selfish, that you'll regret it someday. But you know what I regret every dinner I skipped to pay their mortgage, every birthday I ignored to wire them money, every moment I begged for kindness and settled for obligation. I regret not walking away sooner. Now in this tiny apartment with creaky floors and second-hand furniture, I feel something I never felt in that big suburban house safe. I keep fresh flowers on the table, not because anyone visits, but because I deserve color. I make breakfast without feeling like I owe someone something. I sleep with the windows open and no tension in my chest. There's no Jared stomping down the hall, no mom sighing behind passive-aggressive questions, no dad avoiding eye contact when things get uncomfortable. There's just me, paying my own rent, washing my own dishes, living a life that no longer needs to justify its worth to people who never tried to understand it. Some weekends I take walks through neighborhoods with real families. I see kids laughing, parents holding hands, people who disagree and still choose kindness. I used to think I'd never have that the damage was permanent. But now, I think maybe I will, because I've stopped chasing people who only love me when I'm useful, and started learning how to love myself when I'm not. Sometimes healing doesn't look like reconciliation. It looks like release. It looks like letting go of the dream that your family will become the people you needed them to be, and accepting that you're allowed to walk away even if the world says you're not. So here I am, writing this in a quiet room. No audience, no performance, no screaming, just truth. I don't need them to understand anymore. I don't need closure from people who locked the door after I left, because I found it in my own reflection, in the peace of solitude, in the knowledge that I survived without them, and now I thrive without them. So if you're watching this and your heart is heavy with guilt for saying no, if you've been called selfish, cold, ungrateful for setting boundaries that barely keep your soul intact, let me tell you this. Saying no doesn't make you cruel. Walking away doesn't make you heartless. Holding others accountable doesn't make you ungrateful. It just makes you free. And for the first time in my life, I am. If you've ever had to choose yourself over your family, I see you. Drop your story in the comments, and don't forget to like and subscribe for more true stories like this one. You are not alone.